Oh, it's so hot in here. Oh, that's good. Okay.
69.
That's why it's hot in here. Wow. I just thought you were cold. I know, but the heat is strong. Suffering a change, right?
Sashi.
Begi Joji Medotra,
Lera Nishin.
Sunday
Shindomi de Uwari.
Nogananda Shinla Chobo Jo, Ranamenda Lakan, Sangi, Chodan Zogi Chonam, Chancho Paka, Sangi Chishin, Rola Penche Sange Truba Sho, Sangi, Chodan Zogi Chonam, Chancho Paka, Dami Kasich, Sangi Chishin, Gibesonan. Penche Sange Truba Sho, Sangi, Chodan Zogi Chonam, Chancho Paka, Dami Kasich, Nagi Chishin, Gibesonan, Rola Penche Sange Truba Sho.
Daksan kwalesa
Shugu ngapja ki chute barade.
ngapja
Ngapja ki chu gachi godela.
godile
No,
tendere nangtu
di sujure. Soba chao se di patu pichinte.
wai
So we're around page 138 in the middle. That's as far as we go anyway.
tata tendere nangtung la ngeba demba ni to ti sita tamdu soe ume to shintu yekawa la kone za shi ara tini shibales tate tendere nangtung site no shidanje shi meba terwa na tongba now it is tended ba just this nito ani nito this citizen tongness but it children are she may but then probably to the nang cho xiang de zhe ni nang cho ani ti xia yin de zhe ba su de so ba tu xia yin de la shi que le tong de la shi me ba ti jo ma to ba je tin ta ti ni ga ni to ti se ta tam tu so ne yo so yin sa se ta tam tu se ba re ta yin yin ru che ba so ne ume ta shin du ni ka wa la ko ne se ta ume ta shin du ni ka wa ta so ume ta ti ta ka re si ne rashi me ba tan ta ba tam ki ti me rashi me ba ten ni cha ti gnam sha ke ba ti mune ume ta ta tu ti ta ti isi da tam tu su ne se ta shi ra kumbu ru chi so ne so yin sa ta ume ta wa shi du ni ka wa ko ne cha sa ti de si da tam so yin sa ta ume ta wa shi du ni pa ka wa se ta ti re wa ta ti re
Where we are then is on page 138, middle of the page, where it says, since certainty about appearances and certainty about emptiness almost never are developed together. So almost never like it's just about possible. It's it's like almost impossible, just about possible to have the two together. It's extremely difficult to find a Madhyamika view, and that's what Nagarjuna meant. So it says appearances and empty. So when it says appearances, this is talking about the dependent arising, and empty means empty of existing by its nature. So having those two together is just about possible, almost impossible. What that means is that to be able to establish the meaning of emptiness of existing by nature, and then on that basis being able to also establish the dependent arising, appearances of dependent arising. That's like most people can't do that. In other words, most people wouldn't be able to do that. Most people, when they are doing it the other way around, so like dependent arising, establishing dependent arising, then on that base, then they wouldn't be able to also think or understand at the same time that everything is empty, existing by nature. So when it says it's what does it say here? That extremely difficult. Anyway, so almost impossible. What it means is that there are very few people who would be able to, hold the two together. What this means is that it's not enough just to be able to establish that everything is empty, existing by nature. On top of that, you need to be able to establish or see the viability of dependent arising. So that's what you need to be able to do to really understood the middle way view. On top of being empty, understanding that things are also dependent. So the being able to do that is like almost impossible. It's just about possible.
어디 다티스드 최탐제 다치던지도 디구스르지리 그냥 나세티 제가 진등 나세티 제가 진등 나비 수티 나오데 아니 티니 아니 셈데 나림도 다수데 나림도 셈데 나림도 티니 수그나레제는 감투리에로 감투부데 감투부데레 다니 나림도 이 제는 메뉴브럽데다 하고 그러봐 라파르비지 수디 제가 지니 수그라시도 있나 아니 수디 라시도 두어있나 민아지 수디레 다 그네 땡기요 우리 시리에라 아니 수디레 셈디레 수디는 아니 수디 가서 마치 티니 말이 미 에너 수타지로 수기제제디 나말이 니 자디에 나말이 지디에 나말이 로디에 나말이 레제디에 나말이 지다 두시드 수 나마인 버르디 피엘레르 레르 버르디네 바 셈디에 나말이 셈디 나이는 셈디 잘 알지는 이게 원시도수 나를 베스는 게디 말이 원신 같아 되던도 나야로 아니야 셈 참으디 이기남 시대 나를 베스는 이기남 시대는 차라만 비야 차라만 비 좀 라바 운동계주 따는 인보이니 이 시바야르바 도수 나마리스 이는 마진에 마주 나와 Kalambata, Cheba, Malambata, Yadonan, Benegasu, to Sungarvesina, dear Mary. Residing Arabesina, dear Mary. You see Macha Kole, Nayaraba. Naji to Sum Macha Kondu, Nayaraba. Young Kundo Jaju the Gathane, Kundo Jaju de Namari, Kundo Jaju the Gathane, Nate. Naji to Sunganidus, Nayaraba. Do Jerina, Satia Narimento City. Narashimeva. Tige Hakosun, Narashimeva. Narangun never Hako. Rangun then Niki Varcheva. That again, Naremento City to do Tunito Marva. Tunito Tuyam. Takari is an end. Tunitoba Umetauti. Tirvatich DJ. In a Pumba Lativa in a Pumbe Choto, Pumba Mari, Pumbatima, Pumbati Carreto, Stein to Pumbe, Shelter to a Pumbe Chutire to Pumbe, Nanga to Jen Tamato to Stein to Samba. Here can there. Pumba to somebody. How could Siri Nipumba, Pumbeting Tunito Gresson, they thought we are never. Or Jason Cranchugo Chevin dead. Rashi never said the Jetan never of it. Tony, Ani Umetawati. Don't make Jetan never thing. Jawachi to it. How good. Jetala meaning a Jawachi of a tear. Or teachers and needs to Google Santa Tishin to Nika or is just. What is Sumutuga?
Jetta Megatokyan.
Ah,
Jetta
Jetta never take talk about Tamji, Umetawati. Neighbor Marva. Jetta men maybe Casar Jetta men Casar Amun make Virva. Jetta Cancer Kora Jetta never the Cancer eating Nelus Kimari. Cancer unit Jetta Yukugiamari. Cancer unit Jetta Cancer Amun Jetta to Casa unit Jetta Yukugiam. Jet never is a Casa Jetta never the after Nilukiam. Asa Nelu Imbala Casa di Jetta Casa Jetta Menea. Jetta Menea Casa Terva. Just a Casa unit Jetta Yukugiam. Jetta Mena Casa Mary Kibiam. The Carson Casa and she go to me Jetta Yukubi is Jerva. Teacher Casa Jetta Mabati Casa Nelu. My easy queer.
So, yeah. For example, when we search for the, for the eye, then we would go through the analysis, thinking. We would search for the eye. Yeah. When you search for the eye, where you search for it is you would ask yourself, is the form eye? Is my mind eye? And then when you're looking for the eye in the form, then you have the six elements. So you would need to look one by one at those to see if that's the eye, and you wouldn't be able to find it. But actually, that's so not being able to find it in the form aggregate. That's pretty easy enough. That's quite what you call it, like gross or sort of like it's not very subtle. It's not very subtle. Anyway. So what we're talking about when we say searching for the eye, that means we're looking for something that you can point at and say this is I. This is I. So with the six, the six elements, then like the form or the control, or the the what do we call them? There's another anyway. The sources. So is it the form source, sound source, smell source, taste source, tangible source. So none of those one by one is the eye. So it's quite easy in that way. So then looking for the eye in the form. We have form and mind. So it's not form. So then the mind isn't eye also. So when you're looking for the eye in the mind, then the mind has got different levels. There are more superficial levels, more subtle levels. So the sense consciousness is the grosser ones, and none of those. So the sense consciousnesses are not the eye, because even when they are not there, there's still eye there. Then you've got the mental consciousness, which also has different levels. So, for example, you've got the consciousnesses that go along with the 80 indicative conceptions. So they are, they're not the I, because even when they're not there, there is the I. So we have the mind of the white appearance, red increase, black near attainment, and it's none of those, because even before those become activated, there's still the I there, and when they're not after them, then also the I is there. So likewise the clear light mind. That's not I, because there's an I there before the clear light mind. So the 80 indicative conceptions are not the I. Those, the clear light mind is not the I, and so on. I think I mentioned this already, because the mind of clear light, the mind of the white appearance, red increase, black near attainment, those are not I, because there's an I even before them. The clear light mind is not I, because there's an I there even before the clear light mind manifests. So for this reason, there's no I existing from its own side. However, just realizing that there's no I that can be found when you search for it doesn't mean to say that you realize emptiness, the emptiness of the self, the emptiness of the I. To realize the emptiness in the Madhyamika, that's not enough. You also need to be able to understand that within that context, or on that basis, there's no there's still dependent arising functions. So, for example, in the case of a vase, right? So the vase, you also need to be able to search for the vase. So the vase isn't the spout, it's not the top, it's not the basis, it's not the atoms that go to make up the vase. It's none of those. So this is something we can understand, and it's quite straightforward. But just realizing that that there is no vase that can be found when you look for it within its basis, that isn't enough to realize emptiness. Just that doesn't mean you wouldn't have been able to realize emptiness. So on top of not being able to, on top of realizing that it doesn't exist, it's non-existent at the end of an analysis. In other words, it's realizing that it cannot be found through analyzing, through searching. On top of that, then you need to understand that dependent arising is viable. So, generally speaking, you see, the person, the person doesn't need to be find. For the person to exist, it doesn't need to be findable when you search for it. For a person existing by nature, if that exists, you should be able to find it when you analyze or when you search for it. Yeah. So so there's a big difference between those two, right? The person. So because the person doesn't need to be findable when you search for it. When you can't find it, that doesn't show that it doesn't exist. When you look, in the case of an I existing by nature, it should be findable. So when you can't find it, that's a sign that it doesn't exist.
다디 니조 그야디 니조디 신도니 가와야디 인단디 오마린지 총알레 봐 리시 리디 장니 라시 무슨 지와 세디 리디 리시 리디 메창 라시 바디타 라파르체레스 아니 아람지 무슨 비치도 교그레스 리시 리디 메창이 라시인바 라시인데 내주디 라파르체레바 무슨 지와 무슨 통투로 봐 나도 나와 강리치 셈라 네바 마이바 이제 담지 네네바 셈정 셈라 네바 마이바 라시기 메바티 이 무슨 나야디 무슨 지로 나도 나와 강이서디 무슨 나와 강이바티 셈라 네바 마이바 스디 다시 제바 디체는 아니 제터 아니 never 마이바 디체 담주 내메바 다 제터 메바디 제터 메바디 아니 디치도 다 하고인도 제 라시메바단 파민도 디치 담주 내메바 아니 담배추 그래서 담배추기 내메바스는 나저기 추던데 매버르지 담주 내메바 쳐서 저런 무슨 말인가 아니 내메바 저런 무슨 말인가 담무지고 지도 다 매바디 담주 내메바 저런 무슨 주마이 아니 제들 매바디 아니 무슨 그 주 말이서 다 신도 쳐와 사무치게 되는 무슨 마이바 사무대부 제다부 셈라 데라 주바리고 최대 सब치를 요이 셰버 가와 투치데 데나 투가 사게네 슈라 최대발에 로브리고 어디에서 또 산게가 숨가레스 숨브레스는 그래서 그래 아니 그래서 우리 그래서 우리
So she took it right.
substitute too much. Judy W Chuji Queenis. Sula danger go miniba. Nemanga Nag to never just shash. She would chuma some bit sugar. If you had it, the she would tender the she would try the double going. 신도 타와이도 저거지 tempo 공원에 substitute 세트 맞지 스타트한테 튕기별로 기타와 들어가 substitute 세트 맞지 유지 W 취지 그인이 뚫려 땡겨 고아미네 메맛 나거지 디다 신도네 또 가와지 공원에 아니 지 숨비 이니 샤시 주도 주마 숨바 쉬어야 돼 어떻게 해서다 디 그래서 사베기 덴티들이 니초디 시도점도 송에 오메다와 신도 예바로 공원에 세티 이 공원에 샤시도 저거니 출마숨 상게니 출마숨 슈바티 이 공원에 공베스 슈바이 제버바 어디 해서다디 신도 타와드 가르레스나 나시메베 땡네 자지는 남자 태버디 고아디스 고니데 시다tam도 소알라 고 소아이산의 신도 타와레스 아주 예단데디 다른지 타와디 잖아
Then it says, just after that, it says, in the middle of page 138, this is what Nagarjuna meant in the 24th chapter of the fundamental treatise. There's that verse. And then we're going ahead to the quote from the precious garland, when the impurity of this body, which is caused, directly observable, and continuously appearing, does not stay with mind, then how could the excellent teaching, which has no basis, is not immediately apparent, and is most subtle and profound, easily come to mind? And realizing that because of its profundity, the teaching is difficult to understand. The sage, when he became Buddha, turned away from giving this teaching. This is talking about how the combination of those two, number one, understanding that the emptiness of phenomena existing by nature, and then within that, on that basis, the conventional aspects being viable still, like dependent arising, cause and effect, agents and actions. So the impurity of this the body, unclean nature of the body, is something coarse, and it's directly observable and continuously appears to mind. So it's in other words, it's something you can have a direct perception of. But in the case of emptiness, the emptiness of existing by nature, then so that's what's being referred to when it says which has no basis. The excellent teaching which has no basis. That's talking about emptiness of existing by nature. This is not immediately apparent and is most subtle and profound. How could that easily come to the mind? So so already done that. The Buddha himself said, this is something you might have heard before, that he talks about having right after achieving enlightenment, the Buddha himself remarks that he talks about having found this Dharma, which is, so profound, peaceful, free of elaborations, clear light, and is like nectar. And then he says that because it will be so difficult for people to understand, he says he won't teach it, and he actually remained 49 days without teaching after he'd achieved enlightenment. And so what he was getting at was that this prasangika, as we know it, understanding of how, on the basis of nothing existing by nature, still all of the cause and effect, agents and actions, all of that kind of setup is all still viable, that it's very difficult to understand. It's very, and it's having that combination of those two is just about possible. That was what he meant.
That did Java did in the door. Indeed, said
Compararse revela. Compararse revela.
Compararse mare. Diti anti pecci. Shadow Losan Shetu Sing. J Shadow Losan Shetu. The in the shadow. Rishi Jonamgis. That and the Rishi Jonamgis, then the Rinjikshawati, Sierra, Rishi Serjiva, Rishi Jonamgi, Rangilu, Yundu, Robati, Ditar Metame, Choji, Angshin, Saba Nidu, Sujindu, Grube, Ragshin, Tati Rangilu, Metame. So the Ranshi Kanshi Silva Saba Sujin the Mizar Luigi Ranshi to share this year. Rashi Michigan Tarons Michele Taron is Muslim the Jew to give a imbe. Do Lala said that the Rashi said to go the resume. Rashi Muslim the Jew last doubt to know Gangi said it, doubt to know Gangi said it, Jew dinner doubt to know Gangi says Muslim the dollar, Jew dinner, ever double my barandi, doubt to Mitzaman Rashimba, the doubles, doubt to know said it. You doubt to Mizame Rashim, but you doubt to Arrange Hakuli is here. And they seem to Mumbai Tilti, Mizame Rashim to never, Metaba, Meta to Meso, Tati, Diaris, Titan to lead to meet him be changed, Meta, don't damage so she would take. Or did the D. Shivier. Arashi Jew, doubt to know. This similar never Maimba said, similar never Maimba said, and Rashi said it. Meta. Dirashi to never met up to me so similar sharwe gone never maimba, similar never maimba siati. That is Marandu, you Mizama Shidi, but how good it is. This Sena, you Mizama, but how good it Mishuji. Meda to me, and Meda to me, don't damage the sube. Number shave going to never be Maimba. Aram Haguya Maris Jerry. Meda to me, don't damage Sierra. Zhang de so Shamba, DHS, Dang 아니 당대 따다 신기하래. 이 매장은 인바를 장한 되지. 매다바 인바를 따바지지. 아니 매다동이 동담이 또 만들 전시게 다 동만 인바를 또 인바를 전시게 다 준대. 어디 제가 매장 당대 受损想把第一次是当就到的学习，第一次说，第一次当就说一点呢，你就听了这个嘞，当的轻一点，明的下面呢没把多把了，各位差不多，到当的去学的，当的亲近一点，当的去学的。 천진이 최근 이제 통불을 소바도수 라시그 두바 진배 천진시 천진이 미대 저 천진이 미대 대체 담주 소지 되네 담배 천진이 미대 자외네 내가 또 가에 차와당 담주 가르쳐 그래 담주 가르쳐 아니, 담주 내매봐. 담주 내매세야 담주 주기 내매봐세야 담주 주. 천진기 밑에 매봐디. 신도 차와리스. 디마시바리스. 아니, 어디 맛이 버렸어. 담배 주기 천직이 밑에 저 내면과 또 볼까래 차려던 수수기부 따라 되는 또 그에 무슨 멤버 사모티고 데이터부 삼라 콜라와 텔라도 주브레크를 쉐바 송소 소기는 번째는 어떻게 다들 당근도 때 나랑도 리디 메타메라시 임바티는 아주 한국을 있으려 한국의 국에 아니 뒤로죠 되는 메타와라 상황지 아니 메타바 임바라 타바지 장게 딱다 다도 주범 임바라 다도 주바지 딱다 시세들 경기 딱다 시로조세 상황다 아니 전신이 다도 동안 어디 전신이 다도 진바스 어디 진기가 이제래 당연히 류디 나랑도 류디도 매장에 시리디 상황지 진기야 메타베르 시리디 따번 진기야 자산 류디 다리 류디 상이 야레스 제니 상이 계속 류디 여바든 진기야 무슨 캐서기 류디 다리 야마리 다리 류디 상이 야마리디 캐서기가 아니 다리 여바를 진기야 어디 여바 진기 유산다 따번 진기야 저디 따버지 아니 다도 주가 많이 벌어 다도 주었지 Rangune tuba Mayimba, Rangune tuba Ziliarva. Other the Zimba Yasaneta, Ane Jumde Deng, he chungur the Shashi Jushi, which is Susumbarva. Kipatu Masumba the Carreras to make them be Cheju Shibuti. Ni Karsure, Shindu Tower of Chita, Tower the Imba of Gone. That Tengu Velula, Tong Shitam never named the Zamba and she never nego. And she chungo go into Zamba. Tengu Velula Jen, Chitan Dera she never don't damn said the go there. What did go there? Chumo Ragiva Majeti Chutam the Tong Stame Vasiati, Dame Vati, Tumuetala, Raget to the Dame Vasi. Tengu Velula, Tong Shitame Vasiati, Donati, Rashig to the Tonas. Just and that, Rashig to the Marashig to the Toma Imbala, Rashig to the Zerva. But in Sunny, that is that. Naranji Kelju di Shigiri. Tadi Chidamati Karasuri Nambasan give Tawa Tumu Maibati Chutam Karasa, Nijatam de Metaba said. He Nambasan give Tumu Maibati. Chutam Jetong Dujetam Jimmy, Sajetam Nava said, Many think number 2 my better. Sajetam J. Tunava said, but you Chiriba Janet, Sajetam J. Tunava Senate, now to be a married. Marandu now I'm a double searching. Marandu Kangalo, Karasure, sending Tiki Kangalo, they want to be Arva. To name my incident. To name Jingi Amarva. What is that? Chestnut and the Jetam de Metaba said in another Kabim. Another Lula Chesagi, na Chesag Kambar of the Kesag Kumbataran Zindia. Thus Zindia, but the Chesanta, Mutubi Chirbatus with Taba incident. Pinky Tabas Kellinger. Pinky Tabas said, Unity, Jane, and Mashibatu Marandu Castle Unity to hear it. Pinky Tabas. Number sign give a KG metabolis, KG metabolis, Tegiamar. Church Tambuti Nival Tegiamar, Kama Tambuti, Kama Nival Tegiamarva. Children Tambu meet children Nival Tegiamari. Low Tambu meet Lo Nival Tegiamari. Low Tambu meet Lochi Lo Nibati meet a colony reterva. Low Tambu Pubuti Lochi Le Reamarva. In Lo Nibati rate to do cook, another is in Yamari. Karsure Nakitu Sierva Kesari Amal Nani Bates Sierva Teach Nati Kesan Nati River Chinzingierva Tiriti Kichi that gave a tendency to do the Hagurva, gave a tendency to Yimichi Levina. Not 주로 전신 말했어야 돼. 그 걸리걸리 용거에 걸리걸리 요를 두게 이마 담보다 이벌 요때 친차. 이마 담보 밑에다 이마 입에 입을 니 누가 참지야 돼. 어디에서 그래서 주제 탐지 메타바스야 돼. 다 단데 동네 메타바스야 돼. 동네 동나와 말한주 동네 데 어렵지 생기야 봐. 현대 편도 간걸로 디기 간거 동네 데 어렵지 생기야 봐. 저선 주제 탐지 메타바 사제 탐지 동나와 최 탐지 동시 다음에 봤어. 다디 신도 차와르지레스 신도 차와디 아니 고네 시아시지도 다디 딜레 주지데 가레스는 라시메베 때네 자직이 넘 샤테버디 셰도 디신도 또 가와디 되는 마수수나 리 어디래 리 pena tunge temba chebe tunge temba tong tenge tunga metavati shabu yer rashi mebe tingi tunge di rashi mebe tingi metavatang rashi karsa tunga wa imbati shabu yer di shabu yer santat metaba tunga tunga tame asiati tungi tene shagu yerba ande keju ganga tungi tene shagu yerba tungi rashime barchi hago indu tene phamindu tungi shasan tungi metaba shasan meba tungi tunga shasan meba barchi sungi yerba wadati shindu chawasi
Rajimebe tonne ane Rajimebe tonne ane tingne.
So, still looking at this, these verses from the Precious Garland, there's an explanation from Amdo Lama about this, Jishatong Rosangsha. So, in his explanation, yeah, so how he explains these verses, he says that our body is in fact a heap of unclean substances, and that's something which is quite coarse or superficial, and whatever is the opposite of like subtle. It's not something subtle. It's not something profound. It's something that you can see with the eyes. It's something easy to realize, and it's always appearing, which means we always know that, and besides that, there are the four attributes of the truth of suffering. That it's impermanent, suffering, empty, and selfless. So, nevertheless, so like it says, it doesn't stay in the mind. We do understand this unclear nature of the mind, but that doesn't stay in our minds, in the sense that we despite knowing that, we still grasp the body as being clean. So so these four attributes, impermanent, suffering, empty, selfless. So we grasp our body, for example, as being the opposite of those. So we grasp it as being, we grasp the truth of suffering, body, truth of suffering as being clean, pleasant, pleasure or happiness, permanent, and self-existent. Yeah. So for example, well, when it says when it talks here about it says excellent teaching, so Tam Chö, so the Holy Dharma. What this is talking about is that the fact that the aggregates, etc. So there is a mind grasping at signs, which means a mind grasping those aggregates as existing by their own nature. So the object of that, aggregates that existing by their own nature, the apprehended object of that mind, anyway, what it's talking about, the aggregates existing by their and so forth, existing by their own nature. So the understanding that doesn't exist, that there's no aggregates existing by their own nature and so forth. So anyway, to explain that, so this is a little bit about what that commentary says. So then, in explanation of that, then when we start explaining the meaning of this, put the book down and then sort of start to explain it. So our body is something which is unclean. That's its nature. It's unclean, and we do understand that. And yet, at the same time, we tend to apprehend our body as being clean. So something which is unclean, we think of as being clean. Something which is actually impermanent, whose nature, it has this impermanent nature, we grasp as being permanent. And something which is actually empty and selfless, we grasp as being as existing by as a self, being self-existent. So, for example, with the grasping of the body being permanent, we think, like there was my body. There was my body yesterday, and it's the same. It's the same body, that's here now. Same body. So actually, the body of yesterday doesn't exist today, but we think it's the same body. So yeah, so even though what does that say? Yeah, so anyway. So yeah, anyway, so because of this, then because it's difficult to even with something something very, so obvious that we understand, still we grasp it as being the opposite. So therefore, it's difficult to really understand something even more subtle. So this is why, anyway, that the Buddha didn't teach the wheel of Dharma of the Four Truths for the first 49 days. He only taught it 49 days after achieving enlightenment. So because so what it comes down to is that the reason that he didn't teach for those first 49 days is because it's these four aspects of the truth of suffering are very subtle and difficult to understand. So with those four attributes, you've got the two, empty and selfless. So on one level, the way they're understood is the emptiness means the emptiness of a person separate, that's some sort of different object from their aggregates, which is permanent, single, and independent. And then the selfless is the absence, talking about the absence of a person which is self-supporting, substantially existent. In the Prasangika system, however, even when we talk about emptiness, empty, selfless, even empty there means being empty of a nature, continue existing by its nature. So then, this is also connected to the four seals. You know, when we talk about all compounded phenomena are impermanent, all contaminated phenomena are in the nature of suffering. Everything is empty and selfless, and nirvana is peace. So these are, these contain ideas which are, or views which are unique to Buddhism. It's only in Buddhism that you would say that all compounded phenomena are impermanent, that all contaminated phenomena are in the nature of suffering. So the idea that all contaminated phenomena are suffering is something that doesn't really sit well with the Titikas, the non-Buddhist philosophical systems, ancient Indian philosophical systems. And in fact, even even for us, it doesn't really quite sit well with us, because we tend to think that the happiness of this life isn't suffering, that it's real happiness. So even we have that kind of tendency. So even though we know that that they are in the nature of suffering, still we have that thought, and we have that mind grasping at them as existing, as being pleasant and so on. And likewise, also with grasping at the impermanent as being permanent, that's unique to. Saying that all compound phenomena are impermanent. This is something which is unique to Buddhism. The Titika systems, they say that they have this idea of permanence because of the continuity continuing. So permanent because of having a continuity, which is something we accept, that there is a continuity. There's a sort of like continuity moment by moment, that there is that continuity, but that that isn't taken as a reason for taking the position that the person is permanent. So in fact, the person of this moment, of the previous moment, doesn't exist at the time of the next moment. By this moment, the person of this moment doesn't exist in the second moment. The person doesn't go on of this hour doesn't exist the next hour. The person of this month doesn't go on to the next month. The person of this year doesn't go on to the next year. Because there's a difference. Like, you think about a child during their first year and then in their second year, there's a difference between them. So the child of the first year does this at the time of the 2-year-old. The child of the 1-year-old doesn't exist anymore at the time of 2-year-old. And so this brings us back to a point I mentioned previously, that you get some kind of insight into this when you think about the suffering of aging. See, if that were to happen all at once, then we wouldn't even be able to, go out of the house. We'd have to stay indoors. So what actually happens is that it comes gradually. Like actually day by day, there's change taking place, and we're gradually, aging. So, anyway, it was what this is all about is that the Buddha didn't teach at first, for the first 49 days after achieving enlightenment. What it comes down to is it was because he saw the difficulty, and to underline the difficulty in understanding that all of these different aspects of dependent arising have to function on the basis of being empty of existing by their own nature. That really we have to be able to posit the 4 attributes of the Four Noble Truths on the basis of not existing by their own nature.
다음에 단대 농들이 렌지 청원의 치수가 일제상 삼년내가 많이 봤어요 수가 어떤 삼년내가 많이 봤어야 되지 매장을 힘도 네버티 내가 동네에서 삼년 시작을 거네 내가 많이 봤어 다 매장한테 하고 위하러 봐 매장한테 하고 위하래 돼 매장을 시도 네버티 네 매달 동네 소기 때문에 매달 동네 류지 매달 동네 소 시작을 거네 내가 많이 봐 다시 류 매장에 신도 시 신도 류지 매달바다 동네와를 소배 신도 내가 많이 봐 당디 따다 소스 진송나 류 매장와를 장애를 장애 지제 매달바 인바를 따바스제 달디 장디 예세데 대화 많이 벌 동네 인바를 대화든 진세치도가 내가 많이 봤어야 돼 당디 매달 동네 소스 아니 샤르고는 내가 많이 봐 류 매달을 신도 신기해야 돼 아니 류지 매달바다 동남아다 동아다 다음에 봐라 쏘봐 시에 거는 내가 말이 그래서 주 친구로 듣다기 해봐 다 동네 다음에 쏘고 로초 장디 따다 쏘 실은 진디 내기 해봐 이제는 semna never mahimba seati 류 매장을 시도 시바레디 아니 류디 메다 동네 동 다음에 소기는 시도 never mahimba 딩게 아마레스 이 로초 딩게야리 semna never mahimba seati semna never mahimba seati
Yes.
Yeah. So there's this line in the quote from Nagarjuna. It says, "Does not stay with the mind." So that's at the bottom of the first verse that's been quoted. Continuously appearing, does not stay with the mind. So what this means is that we do understand. We can understand the unclean nature of our body. And yet, when it says does not stay with the mind, what that means is that we are not able to understand the body's unclean nature, while at the same time holding it to be impermanent, selfless, impermanent, impermanent, suffering, empty, and selfless. We can't do that. Rather, what we do is we grasp it as being the opposite of that, being the clean, pleasant, and something like that, permanent and self-existent. So that's what that means. Does not stay with the mind means we're not able to grasp that. While at the same time we understand that it's unclean, we're not able to grasp it as being also impermanent, suffering, empty, and selfless.
담주 never mahimba says to ga. Vinji Timanala. Desi Tamju ne meba says to ga. Other the Karirasana Tamju ne meba sayati. Ani Tambe Tadi Rinji Tine Tati 계절은 지금 이제 이제 때문에 따지지. 이나를 담배 천진기 밑에 자에 내봐 또봐 가래 차와당 담주셔야 돼 그래서는 담배 천진기 담바스는 뭐는 담배를 두 번째 천진기 담배에서 누가 그냥 담치셔야 봐.
No,
이 담바지도가
no, no.
담바디 전 담바를 랑문을 두번은 이제 천진기 밑에 자선 밑에 잘 내매 봐. 담주 내매 봐세요. 이제 담주 내매 봐세요.
Damchögi damsedi tu dön dampar juba.
전 담바시.
Dön dampar juba.
예, 뒤로봐. 전 담바 두 천진 세야디 천진 밑에 세야디 뒤로봐. 참만 좀 봐세요. 전 담바 두 번째인데. 천진기 밑에 시디 뒤 밑에 가르쳐. 전 담바 매버들마. 밑에 밑에 매버 밑에 대수 매버디 라시 매버 들어봐. 라시 매버 신도 좋아. 담치 내매버 차섭스 차와세야디니 저기 차와세야디 그래서는 차렵당세도 또버가래 차와스제 다 서버시스가 서버데 가래 소수기부 라테니 또 그래 소수기부게 따를 때는 또 그거에 무슨 부지만 있어 사모스 다 차와세도 또 가와스제 다 서버세 소수기부게 따를 때는 또 그거에 무슨 또 미르고 있어 사모스 다 차와도 사모니 지단지는 집에서 지르가 차섭스도가 차와세야디 또 가고 있어 차와스지 사바세디 따를 때는 또 그거 이게 무슨 또 미는 거니까 사모스도가
담쳐서야디 나도 담배 채널을 계속 치우셔야디 산이
이 말이 여기 담배 취해서야디 최디 파민도가
No,
담배 천진기 밑에서
no.
담배 천진기는 전 담배 주가게 천만 된다 천지세 전 담배 주간 진짜 물로디가 띵지를 천지시게 이 밑에 밑에서 그랬으니 라시그 주간 진짜 띵지 밑에 가르쳐 띵주샤고 봐
네.
밑에 내봤어.
네메
밑에 내봤지? 동바를 봐.
네메 바세디 콤 밑에 네메디.
여기 참으로 봐.
No.
또 가고 인사 참으지. 수술기부 그 따를 때는 또 그것이 무슨 또 미루어서 참으지.
Then in this second verse, also it comes up the idea coming to the mind. Well, actually, it's. I mean, you know, when you look at the Tibetan, it's easy to make this mistake. But the word here, tam chö, so the tam has been translated here as excellent, chö as teaching, but it's not that.
Oh, I never heard that.
It's not. It doesn't mean that at all. So anyway, we've got this this line here, which is nebepa. At that time, when in other words, in that case, the let's say ultimate dharma, not not what's the word that came about? Not staying, not abiding, not staying. That there's that line. I mean, that's what we're looking at. So this is explained in Gyaltsabje's commentary to the Precious Garland, the Gyaltsab Tanchik. So there he explains the tam in tamsha, which means, I mean, normally it would be, you translate it directly as a like holy or something, but it's like the dam in dundamba. So ultimately, it's talking about the existing ultimately, which is the so existing ultimately. So in other words, when you see excellent there, you should understand it to mean existing ultimately. So you've got the grasping at objects existing ultimately. So then there's the midday of that. So that would be basically like the focal, what that grasps basically. So which is an object existing ultimately, right? So you don't see in this translation nemepa, like not staying. It's exactly the same phrase that has been translated as not stay in the verse above. Not staying, not abiding. In other words, doesn't exist. There isn't, the object of that mind doesn't exist. An object existing ultimately doesn't exist. Okay. So in other words, what it's talking about is the non-existence of the apprehended object of true grasping, which is an object existing by its own nature, right? So that's something which is subtle, and what subtle means is difficult to realize. And then it's also profound. So it says in the third line of that verse, right? Most subtle and profound. It's profound. What profound means is ordinary beings can only realize it through depending upon logical reasoning and science. They can't just realize it directly. So these kind of come to the same thing. Saying that something is subtle means it's difficult to realize. Saying it's profound means ordinary people only realize it by using reasoning.
Metabaris, Metabaris, Kiji, Buris, Maranzo, Lord Tuju Tedina, Kesa Yudu, Lord Tuju Rebala, Nimachi, Kesa Jetta, Darija to Tamba, Nima Tuju Yovala, Nimachi, Soto, Sobra. Just a man beauty metaberan she done caressing. You did the Gabala Tanya to be ever. Doing the Milaba to the they did Kitty do to wear the caressing and Manazolo to Juyana, to Jutin, set a low to Juyana, Kamachi, Ruditamba, low to June, Kamachi chatter. Chujuchi do the low to June, to Daya even, Chujuchi Chin. The Nimachi songs to Nimachi, Dawachi songs on low to Jayala, Dawachi no chimber. But did she did number? Ludi did to Duga, Kitchi. What did it? That Liana to be met up by initiative.
So our body has these four attributes of being impermanent, suffering, empty, and selfless. If we talk a bit about how it's impermanent, so for example, say you're going to live 60 years, then what that means is that as each moment passes, we're getting closer and closer to the time when the continuity, sort of like the stream of existence, the continuity of our of this life is going to come to an end. So with each minute that passes, we're getting closer to that end. With each minute that passes, we have 1 minute less to live. So with each moment, with each month that passes, 1 month closer to that time, 1 month less to live. Each year that passes also. So in the same way, our body is like changing all the time, and with each moment that passes, it's getting close to its end as well. In general, we, of course, our body is the truth of suffering. It's included in the truth of suffering, and it's the result of virtue, isn't it? It's the result of having practiced morality. Like they say, there's a scripture that says, from generosity, wealth; from morality, happiness. Where happiness means the happiness of the birth of, the fortunate of a fortunate rebirth as a human being or as a god. And so we would have to say it's happiness, because it's the result of morality, which is virtue, and the result of virtue is happiness. The result of non-virtue is suffering. So it's we have to say it's happiness, because the result of morality, the result of virtue. Then, but then it's suffering because it's the truth of suffering. So in a way, it's like we have to say it's the truth of suffering, but it's not suffering. But still, anyway, because it's the result of virtue, it must be happiness. The result of non-virtue is suffering. So the thing is that we have two bodies that I was mentioning before. You've got the body, which is the result of the full maturation. So there's a full maturation body. Then they give you the increasing body, which is so called because it's the one which develops when you eat well. Its strength increases, and then if you don't eat well, then the body sort of like ebbs or it deteriorates. That second one, the increasing body, that's something that comes from the two substances of the parents, the sperm and egg or the fertilized egg from the parents, and it's not the result of morality. That body.
That in it, yeah, Nam Changsane, Nimal Tersonia, Tewachi, or Tusu, that's Sajili Tewari, Sajili Tewari. That is, do it to many Sharia, do it to many Shah in the Dubati, to me is to me Sajili Tewari. Sami to my nature. That is means that neither leg give never in Susuma. Leg give it to say, leg give a channel, give dewa. Let me go a channel, give it to me, Mishuji. Leg give a channel, give it to me, Maris Labrava. That and the Sajik to a devotee, late Swatch Deborah. She had a Chimbatan Latini. Any Chimbelon Jitilan, long jebet, Chitin, long jebani. They touch Chimbelon, Chimbatan Delatini, long Jitichuareva. Long Jiti, long jebalatini. Sajik to a giver. Did it lay give it? Oh, did it? You're such. Karen Debu into the Surba. There is it. That is. You doing Maravasina?
You don't matter.
You're doing a Karsha.
You don't take penalty to such a sabone, subject to anything. So Dawach, Zaki Dawachi Kigira.
No, this just a dirty.
Lale.
Dirty, you're doing it about.
Lale.
Whatever.
There was Mara.
Give it.
Give it away. There was.
Ah,
There is cigarette.
Jesus. Give it.
No.
But the to meet him by to meet my incident.
동해 댐바 예스.
동해
동해
많이
마이스. 동해라.
아
교회 동해도 동해라.
교회 동해들이
또 교회 동해는 동해.
이제 동해 숨제로
그래.
동해 숨제로 어디 이 동해 숨제로 그 교회 동해들이 마셔 교회 동해 가시네 그 교회 동해 슬래버리 미시 동해 때 말이스 교회 동해 가서 깨진이 벌고 동해 그래시 반 누구야 봐
나래.
그 니마 저저네 양 치리 치 누구를 봐 니마 담보 저번에 그 수가와 지어봐 다치 시다 저제 대도 좀 봐니 동네 지게 영화 그 동네 뭐 파로스마 동네 뭐 파로래지 그런 류의 동네에서 깨진이 벌고 동네 라신도 저 파래 로래 류의 동네 많이 쓰나
Sure. So it said, isn't it, that there's there's not even enough happiness in samsara to fit on the tip of a needle. So what that's talking about is uncontaminated happiness. There's not even, in other words, there's not even the slightest uncontaminated happiness in samsara. So as we know, you feel cold, so you go somewhere. You're going to sit in the sun. So you get this sort of like this experience of happiness, which we call the suffering of change. Because why is it called the suffering of change? Is because if you sit there long enough, then eventually, you get too hot and then you have to move again. So actually, that suffering of change is suffering, we say, don't we? It's contaminated happiness. It's not uncontaminated happiness. And we say, don't we, when we're talking about the attributes of karma, the general attributes of karma, that karma is definite. That's the first of the four, isn't it? Karma is definite. What that means is that if you do something virtuous, you're going to experience happiness as a result. You couldn't possibly experience suffering as a result. And if you do something non-virtuous, then you're going to experience suffering as a result. You couldn't possibly experience happiness as a result. So the contaminated happiness that we experience in samsara. Okay, so there's no uncontaminated happiness, but there's the contaminated happiness. That's the result of virtue. So we practice charity, generosity, and as a result of that, you receive resources. And so when you use those resources, then you experience contaminated happiness. So that contaminated happiness is the result of virtue. So we have to say it's happiness. So then how about if we say that it's the truth of suffering, but it's not suffering? It's the truth of suffering, but it's not suffering. The thing is, if you say that, then it's the truth of suffering. So it's actually, of the three types of suffering, it's the truth of the suffering of change, isn't it? So suffering of change is suffering, isn't it? So then, I think Rinpoche has left us in a quandary.
Yeah, that is that that should get don't number da years in a da years away. Nache, Kansache, Dache, Chibere. That shouldn't get don't stammer it. Dami Kelly said it, but I get to the Karasa, I get to the Dal. 다 캐린 뭐 시게래 랑게트에 다 캐린이들 다 캐린 치르바게 랑게트에 다 캐린 거 남바게 랑게트에 다 메시게 다 예수그래 나 예수그래 나다 다다 기부다 가사 지바이 있게 그래서 최근에 다 매봤어요 이 최탐제 랑게트에 다 동아티 다 매바이 다음에 지단 다들이 타미리 다지 니 예스 렌데기 때도 기베 다디 예스 다음에 세디 니 가제 다르지 그래 가제 다스는 가스를 라운에 다지 대추던 이제 다시 동시 다음에 가서
Then we have the the other two attributes being empty and selfless. If you ask in Buddhism, is there such a thing as a self? We would say yes, the self does exist. The I, self, person, being, they're all mutually inclusive. They're basically the same thing. So when we talk about like accepting a self or not accepting a self, those people who are said to accept a self, or those philosophical systems that accept a self, that's a sort of an expression that's used to refer to people who accept the existence of a person that's self-supporting, substantially existent. So because they accept such a self, they're said to accept a self, and we would say we don't accept a self. We say that the self does exist, nevertheless. I exist, the self exists, the person exists, the being exists. So anyway, the thing is, we need to make a distinction between the self, which is the object to be negated, which would be the like self-supporting, substantially existing self, for example, and then there's the self which exists conventionally. Which would be the self, which is the basis of the operation of karma and its results. So the one that's so that's like in contrast with a self which is self-supporting, like existing independently.
다른데 우리 대화도 통해서티 계획을 대화식으로 봐. 니게 대화를 통해서로 봐. 우리 년이 풍부티 매개를 대부 많이 했어. 매개를 대부 많이 보이서 아니 계획 대부를 봐. 추진도 대부를 봐. 제선 계획 대부인 선이든 대화식이스 내시 말이스. 아니 사실 동네에서 사실 동네에서 동네 템퍼에서
사실 대화라. 사실 대화.
사실 대화.
So anyway, so happiness is the result of virtue. Suffering is the result of non-virtue. Our our appropriated aggregates, or grasping aggregates, are not the result of non-virtue. They are the result of virtue, because they're the result of morality, and therefore we have to say they're happiness. Although they're happiness, they're not uncontaminated happiness. They're contaminated happiness.
이랬더니 그거는 미겔 데브 류텐 가르쳤으니 돈주 류텐이 미겔 데브를 봐. 미겔 데브리 데브 류텐이야 그 미겔 데브 주스 주기야. 수 멤버를 같은 게 여러봐. 수 미투가. 그거야. 주림 게 말이. Nyamba Sangdes in each other, Nyamba Sangdes and Domi to the Chiare. There is a cook. Yeah. Getting but chair, getting but it could have table for the girls or instead. Nyamba Sangdes in it. Well, the share should do them back. Tibut, children Chimbuchan. Children the do Yamaris in the Chimbushana. Kadu to the arrest that Stenchi Kijish server. In do me to but chair, do me to but it. Kurang Lute Ichida Tendu Luterba. Then Luteni Inayan could do me to be Chajerba. Immigrated. Lutenchi tend to carry reputation to the Nipa Yari. Nazar of June Luigi Chajerba. Nazar Yonsa Luigi Chasha Jerba. Naze. The Luigi Nazar Tico Miguel Jebrba. Chidan Lutenti Gerede Buche. Now Luten Kurang the Tendo, yeah. Make a ship part there, some get Tom and doing it up in the Yungave. He Kondu with Jebel of the Yungave. Luten Kurang. The Garasuve. Give a Jebuba. Nearly to it. Give a Jeburis. Mean the day you did deep thing to me. Give a Jebu, give a Jebu, yes.
If you think of the literally the body support, so anyway, the body of an animal, so that's the that would be the result of non-virtue. Then you have the body of the fortunate realms, that would be the result of virtue. At the same time, so in general, having a human body, which is the result of virtue, you could be very ugly. So that would not be the result of your practice of morality. There's a story of the Nyamazangden, I don't know, anyway, that's the Tibetan name for him. This is somebody who was extremely ugly, but also had a very, very beautiful voice. So how does that? No. Yeah. So there's this the according to the accounts, he was involved in building a stupa in a previous life when it was a different Buddha. So he criticized the building of this stupa, and that was why he, later on in that life as Nyambazangden, he was very ugly. But then he also offered a bell to the stupa, and for this reason, he had a very, very beautiful voice. So on that body of a human being, which is the result of virtue, you can have the results of non-virtue and virtue both there. So in his case, he had both. Like, for example, when we, so our body is the body of a human body, so it's the result of virtue, and yet we can also be ill. So that sick part of the body would be the result of non-virtue. Although in general, the body, that body would be the result of virtue. So a person can be so ugly that nobody can bear to even look at them. So that's the result of anger. That's the result of anger. The body itself, in general, is a human body, therefore is the result of virtue. So it can, on that is the expression that's used. On that, you can have the results of non-virtue and virtue.
다디 다디 다이 성주 리디 미정이의 신체 메타바인스 동나와인스 동해마인스는 지도 동나와인다 그랬으나 리디를 때니 동해만 붙인 거야 리디를 카르주네다 나수네다 가리네 아니 시에수네다 강에만 붙이 책을 봐 근데 리디 나는 리디다 동네기 중쿠로 제 나는 동네만 보이면 리디랑 발때니 중요해 아니 제베 동네 공베 동네 니 차베 동네 나베 동네 다디 동네 간가 지 리디 때문에 동네 몸도 친구도가 근데 그 동네 템바세야 되고 동네 중쿠 제데르바 리디면은 동네도 mambu치 가두야 제나디 리디 동네가 싫었지 당을 단단한도 간그 지제데 리디 처치도 mambu치 지게라 제서는 디시도 갈래 mambu치게 디된도 노트 mambu치 인거야 이 리디 때문에 제서는 동네 템바이 동네도 기레기를 돼. 다기들 동네 mam부 중요해도 조직이 레슨이지. 조직이 레기. 나지 남이게 기레 펑셔에 리데 디땡도 내 mam부 중요해도 레치 사셔. 레디 조직이 레슨. 이게 아니 리디 맵스게 다른 애들이 때문에 리디 내가 지금 봐 그래서 조직이 편집이 레스 조직이 레스 조직이 쓰레 수미에 조직이야 되는 이 편집이 레기 탕배 리디 디땡도 야 레몬부지 대화 유야디 야 조직이 레스지 동네 유야디 조직이 레스 왜나 키르부지 키르 땡땡을 조직을 레 조버티 가르스는 그 키르 땡땡 지가시 도제 상불로 놓치고 지 가리네 미장비 냐데버비 제대심이 두술래 리그티네 겨울만도 중요해라 두수 간거 조직을 내가 줘버리지 나한테 니 리드비실라 내려서 만도 중요해라 또 내리 두수 조직 니게 내지 주변이스 예외 두수 간거로 조직을
Nu is het de zogigile, ja, is pingigile, en niet de jugigile. No. So, so our body is unclean, impermanent. It's suffering, doing it. So, what we can say is that it's what we say. Dunia wase di tang dunia giranjin ni chipu jangara. Dunia na is dunia wares. Dunia giranjin res chipu. Yeah, so it anyway means the same as like suffering in nature. So we could say that this our body is the truth of suffering. We can say it's suffering in nature, but it's not suffering. So, for example, we have this body, which is a body of a human body of which is in one of the happy realms. So it's the result of virtue, and yet then at the same time that we have this body, we can have the pain of being injected, have needles stuck in us, being hit and so forth. So actually, it's a body which is a source and a basis for so much suffering. We have the suffering of thirst that we have with this body, suffering of hunger, suffering of being too hot, suffering of being too cold. So it's the truth of suffering. And so it takes so much to, in terms of upkeep, we have to put so much effort into, and we get so many problems from maintaining this body. So it's the truth of suffering. If we were to say it's suffering, that wouldn't really work. If we say it's suffering is the result of non-virtue, but this body is the result of virtue. So we need. So this brings us to the three types of karma. You've got the throwing karma, completing karma, accomplishing karma. So particularly the throwing karma. So like this body, the throwing karma would be virtuous karma. Then the suffering that we experience while we have this body would be the result of non-virtuous completing karma. The happiness that we experience, the pleasure that we experience with this body would be the result of virtuous completing karma. So you get this kind of thing going on also, like with the dogs and cats that are, which people's pets, kept as pets. So they might be given very, very good food and very good living conditions and so on. So that would be, even though as a dog or as a cat, that would be the result of non-virtuous throwing karma. Still, affluence, relative affluence that they experience as a pet would be the result of virtuous completing karma. So in our case, experiencing illness and so on, that would be the non-virtuous completing karma.
That is lhak.
No, so we stop there then.
Yes.
Sashi.
Saya